So these are other kinds of ways to do surface finishing and mass finishing. This is a centrifugal disc finisher. It's basically an open drum with a base plate that spins media really fast, kind of creating this like toroidal spinning action. And it's really good for getting high polishes on small parts. Super expensive system, but it works pretty well. There are also systems, drag finishers. Basically, that's a good system for when you need to 100% keep parts separated. Basically, the way it works is you have either vibrating or spinning media in this bottom container, and then you kind of submerge the parts into the media, and the media tumbles around.
Parts, yeah.
Tumbles around. You got to be careful though with those kinds of systems, because unless you continue to move the parts, you get this beautiful directional finish on the part, which is not always what you want to get. So the other thing is, and I think probably is like a blast cabinet.
Mm-hmm.
These can be manual, these can be automated. That's another way to do surface finishing. So abrasive blasting is generally used to create a specific surface finish on a part or to clean a part. One of the benefits is that it won't round the edges. So sometimes, and I think I asked somebody this question yesterday, whether or not on those blocks you needed to keep a sharp edge or a sharp corner.
Right.
If you did, tumbling is not the way to go. Because tumbling is not a precision process, you can't just impact the surface and not the edge. With the blasting, you can.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's actually where the company started. Was make the first machines we made were buffing wheels, were buffing machines. Because actually, it's an interesting story the way that the company started back in 1911. It was with a guy made chamois to polish pocket watches. That's where it all started from. And he made pouches for the pocket watches. Then he went into buffing wheels. He started making buffing wheels, and then he made the wheel, the compounds, and then he started making those. When we took over the company, we were still making. They were like $5,000 buffing wheels. We were getting so many calls for them, but people wanted the $100 buffing wheel. They're calling it. So we were like, you know what, this is gone. If somebody needs a big one, we could do it. We'd have the hoods and all that stuff on it. But
So anything we're talking about, we can
get.
source. And the unique thing about Kramer is that we don't just sell this or this or this, right? So you go to any one of our competitors, and the answer is always a disc finisher, because that's what they sell, right? But really, that's not the best solution for the customer. So when somebody contacts us, it might be a barrel or a vibe or even blasting or some other kind of a process. And so we walk them through that whole conversation, that sales process, try to figure out what's the best solution for the customer, not what do we want to sell them. Right? And so, if you guys come across somebody, we can talk to them and try to figure out what solution is the best option for them. Because even though drag finishing might give them the finish that they want, right? It might not have the throughput that they need. It might not make sense for the setup of their facility. And so vibratory finishing might give them exactly the same finish that they're looking for and makes more sense for their operation. But anyway, other things are buffing wheels. I'm sure you guys are familiar with these. The big disadvantage here is that they're one-offs and they're potentially operator dangerous. You may not be familiar with tumble blasting. Basically what that is it's a blast cabinet, just like any other blast cabinet, except there's a basket inside where you would put a load of small parts, and that basket will tumble at a low speed, like either anywhere from 2 to 6 RPM. And there's a blast gun, and as the parts tumble around underneath the blast stream, it blasts all of the parts at one time. So instead of having an operator sitting here blasting each little part, you can put a load into a tumble blaster, and think of if you needed to blast, little nuts or bolts or something like that, you throw them into a tumble blaster, 30 minutes, everything's blasted to a uniform finish.
It's almost like a robot welder. I mean, same
Same basic idea. And there's other kinds of surface finishing things like wheel blasters, flat finishers, shot blasting machines and things like that. So there's lots of different kinds of stuff. But what we're showing here is really kind of the bulk of the stuff.
To Stephen's point, this is all pneumatic, it's all air. They actually, what you could blast with steel grit or steel shot, which is really, really heavy. You can't pick it up with that. So it's paddle, like it literally just picks it up and flings it at it, picks it up and flings. And they'll actually pick up like Abrams tanks, put them in a huge blast room, literally hold them horizontal and just blast them that way. And they'll come out perfect.
Auto industry, like these tier 1 and tier 2 suppliers use wheel blasting systems a lot. So they'll put it on a conveyor and they'll hang these parts like brake systems or whatever on a conveyor, and they'll go through the cabinet and get blasted and then just come out the other side. So think of like a paint line, right? It's the same kind of a thing.